Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reiterated his call on Sunday for the full dismantling of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. As Washington and Tehran continue in direct negotiations, the US and Iran, mediated by the Gulf state of Oman, have agreed to hold 3 rounds of talks focused on reaching a nuclear deal that would prevent Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons while also lifting crippling US economic sanctions. Netanyahu stated that the only good deal would be one that removes all of Iran's nuclear infrastructure, echoing the 2003 agreement Libya made with the West, where the country abandoned its nuclear, chemical, biological and missile programs. Netanyahu has long vowed to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, a stance that remains a cornerstone of Israel's security policy. As the talks progress, Israeli officials have not yet ruled out military action to disrupt Iran's nuclear capabilities. Despite US President Donald Trump's indication that the US is currently unwilling to support such an operation, Israel continues to consider military operations in the coming months, according to reports from Reuters. The ongoing diplomatic talks aim to ensure that Tehran can still develop peaceful nuclear energy, but Netanyahu remains firm, insisting that any agreement should eliminate the potential for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. Let's listen in to what Prime Minister Netanyahu had to say.
You have to dismantle their nuclear infrastructure. And that means not that they will not enrich uranium, but that they will not have the capacity to enrich uranium, which means you destroy the centrifuges, you remove, of course, the nuclear material that is already enriched, and there are a few other things that you have to do, but that's the crux of it. The real deal that works is a deal which removes Iran's capacity to enrich uranium for nuclear weapons. Equally, I think we should bring in the ballistic missiles, the prevention of the development of ballistic missiles.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has strongly denied accusations from the head of Shin Bet, Ronen Bar, calling him a liar in a sworn affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court on Sunday. Netanyahu's response comes a week after Bar's own affidavit, where he accused the Prime Minister of demanding personal loyalty and ordering Shin Bet to spy on anti-government protesters. The government's attempt to fire Bar has sparked mass protests and legal challenges. Netanyahu rejected Bar's claim that he had demanded action against non-violent protesters in 2023, calling it an absolute lie. Bar, however, stood by his statement, asserting that Netanyahu has instructed him to prioritize the Prime Minister's orders over those of the courts in the event of a constitutional crisis. The dispute escalated further over Israel's handling of the October 7th Hamas attack, with Bar defending Shin Bet's actions that night, insisting that no information had been hidden from Prime Minister Netanyahu, who countered, accusing Bar of failing in his duty to alert the authorities before the attack. The legal battle continues, with the Supreme Court set to decide Bar's future, but for now the Shin Bet chief remains in his role after a ruling on April the 8th. Both leaders continue to trade accusations, adding fuel to the ongoing political fire. Let's move over to the African continent now, where South Sudan's political tensions are escalating as an opposition lawmaker has accused President Salva Kiir's government of preparing a genocide against the Nuer ethnic group. The government's classification of the Nuer homelands as hostile has raised fears of renewed violence and civil war. Reith Mao Tang, a Nuer deputy and senior official in rival Riek Machar's party, condemned the label, calling it a part of a sinister plan that risks sparking violence and targeting the Nuer community. The conflict between Machar and Kiir's forces has already cost many lives and displaced thousands of people, with continued clashes threatening the fragile peace deal that ended a brutal civil war in 2018.